You really gotta wonder who is behind all these Disney Star Wars shows that are coming out, especially this one. I know Lindsay Headland is behind this, but dear God, Episode 2, man, it just it just gets worse from Episode 1. I mean, okay, so if the fight scene in Episode 1 was absolutely horrendous, the break-in in Episode 2 is probably even worse. If the whole scene can be cut out, it makes no sense. It's absolutely useless. So what happens here? So the Acolyte, she gets a little local girl to come in. She throws some rocks at the Jedi Temple. One of the robot guards opens up from the wall, talks to the little girl, tells her to go away or something like that. And then the little girl waves to the Acolyte, who throws a device at the robot's head. But here's the thing, the device she throws doesn't hit the robot's head until it's back in the wall, and once it hits the robot, it just automatically opens up the door. This whole scene wasn't necessary. The only reason why we have her is so that the characters can talk to the little girl later, so that they can just confirm that May is actually here. Like, if you're going to have a break-in, at least make it interesting, but it's just no point in it. You can literally cut that whole part out and just have May throw the device onto the door and watch her walk in. Is absolutely pointless. Now from here, she goes on into the temple and she finds Master Torben, who is apparently going to be her next target. Now she tries to use a whole bunch of different moves on him, but it doesn't matter because he's in a meditative state that the Force is protecting him, and he's in pretty much the peak of meditating with the Force. Now, I have some comments to make about this later, but we'll get to them later on. Needless to say, she fails at her assassination, so she has to leave and come back with another plan. Now, as this is going on, we get cut over to Soul's ship, where he, Varda, Asha, and the Padawan are having a conversation. Apparently, Varda doesn't understand why they don't have her still in chains, because he still thinks of her as the person who killed the Jedi Master Randara, where Soul's like, I don't believe that. I think her sister really is alive. And Varda, for the first time, is actually saying something very smart. He's like, no one really listens to, but he makes it kind of like, okay, even if she has a twin, they could be working together. This could just be a ploy. I mean, you said so yourself. She's been gone for 6 years. She hasn't been trained in 6 years. So what happened in those 6 years that Asha's been gone? She could have found her sister, and they could have set this whole thing up to get revenge on the Jedi that were on her planet when her family died. But Soul just says, oh, trust me. And then he goes off to go talk with the Jedi Council, who confide in Saul that there was a Jedi temple that was broken into, and there's a description of a person that really matches Asha. So they're like, okay, two together, it probably really is May that's alive. So the Jedi Temple redirect him from Coruscant to go investigate the temple, because there's no point in bringing Asha there now that they have pretty much confirmed that she's not the one behind it. But, you still have to be a little worried about her. You don't really know for sure, although Soul seems to be completely trusting her, even though he shouldn't, and Varda is on the point here. But regardless, he goes back, tells everyone what's going on, and take Asha with him to the Jedi Temple to have her help them find May. Now, at this, Var speaks up against it, saying that they need to take her to Coruscant, because she could be the one who's behind the murder still. He's still up on that. And Soul just like, the Jedi have confided in me. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to do this. Now, I have an issue with this. He shouldn't have said the Jedi. He should have said the Council have confided in me that this is what their desires are, and we're going to be enacting the Jedi Council's wishes. It's because Varda is a Jedi. He's a Jedi. So not everyone is okay with this. Not when you say the Jedi approve this, that's not true. You should have been specific. Now, I know that's a nitpick, but I'm a Star Wars fan, okay? You made the show supposedly for the fans, so supposedly I should be able to nitpick and talk about this as much as I want, because this is my fandom. Yeah, right. So anyways, they go to the planet. I think it's called Albergus or something like that. I'll put down here. And as they're traveling to the planet, we cut back over to May, who's now entering in this apothecary shop, where they meet Asian Ezra. I mean, I can't really say it any better. Like, just look at these guys. Like, they definitely look like they're just the white version and the Asian version. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry you have a face like Ezra Miller. You're probably a great dude. You're probably a great actor. It just, it's a really unfortunate coincidence. Maybe. Depending on Hollywood, they could have done that on purpose, but I'm going to chalk it up as, unfortunately, you just have the bad fate of looking like Ezra Miller. Sorry, my dude. Now, with May entering the shop, she converses with him a little bit. I forget his name. I'll put it here as well. And he gets the potion ready for her that she's going to take to use the poison, which I don't really understand how you're going to do that, because the dude's literally in a force bubble. But I guess they have a conversation that, the Jedi Master isn't necessarily all that serene, that everyone has weaknesses, and somehow May is going to be able to exploit those weaknesses by giving him absolution about something. So far, we haven't seen any reason why this dude would have any mental concerns or any worries, because his force bubble and force shield is super strong. He's one with the force. Because here's my issue with that: if he really did have mental problems, or if only May could give him absolution, he shouldn't be able to project that strong of a barrier. He should be contemplating, having flashbacks, struggling to contact the Force, just showing us on the outside that he's having these mental struggles going on with his Force abilities. But we're not seeing any of that. Like, you could have just literally just shown us for a scene of him just wobbly raising a cup, but you showed us a perfect defense for him inside of a meditation state. So what kind of mental issues is this guy suffering from? Because as far as I can see as a viewer, there's nothing really there that looks to me that he should be overly concerned about something. Now, once May gets the potion, she's then reminded by the dude that she can only kill one Jedi with a weapon, and this one kind of is on the gray area on what she can do, because apparently she got an order from her master not to use any weapons when she kills the Jedi, except for, I guess, blades is what she can use, because she's been using knives on Master Randara, but that's besides the point. With that said, May heads off to go break into the Jedi Temple once more. Now, just conveniently, she's about to go break into the Jedi Temple. Sol and his group arrive, meeting the Jedi who are in charge of the temple. And we'll just say one of them looks kind of like a wrecking ball. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun or anything like that, but the Jedi are supposed to be nimble warriors and fit. You don't really classify as any of that. Now, that's to be fair, we've only seen the Jedi in Coruscant, so maybe they're held to a higher standard, and these Jedi out here in the temples and out in the far reaches, maybe they have a little lesser standard for fitness. I just thought it was kind of funny, personally. Now, with that said, the Jedi start escorting them through the temple. May shows up in Master Torbjorn's area, and she pretty much just tells them, like, hey, go talk to the Jedi Council about the crimes you committed on my home planet, or I can offer you freedom. And she places the vial right in front of him, and he, for some reason, comes out of his meditative state, and he says he's sorry, that he has been waiting for you, and that they thought they were doing the right thing, and he just takes the vial and dies. Like, wait, you were that mentally troubled? You were that much on the edge of committing suicide? You just needed someone to say, hey, just die. That's pretty much all that happened. Like, yes, May was there. May was probably one of the people that he caused harm to. Sure, and I understand a great sense of regret, but if you're going to commit suicide, I'm sorry, waiting, 16 years to do it? That's a very long time. I'm sorry, man. Like, if you hadn't gotten over by 16 years, like, I mean, some people, that's fair. Some people can't get over trauma that they've experienced 10 to 20 years ago, so that's fair. I'm not making fun of that. It's just that the fact that he was so deep in with the Force that he's able to control it, and that he still had these suicidal tendencies, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that exactly. But regardless, he's now dead. May is able to disappear. As Sol's group was moving through the Jedi Temple to go meet up with the now deceased Master Torb, Osha decides to go off and take a side route for some reason. And somehow this side route gets her to Master Torb before the rest of the group does. Like, how does that work? Like, they're literally being led by someone who works at the Jedi Temple. He should know the fastest, quickest way to get to him, and somehow Osha got there first. Yeah, you're going to have to explain that one to me. Now, a quick question for you. When you see someone collapse on the floor that looks like they're dead, do you, A, just start looking around the room and at their stuff and, don't really look all that concerned? Or do you, B, start calling out for help and saying that someone has collapsed or is dead and you need help right away? Which two would you do? Which two would make you seem less suspicious? If you were to choose option A, then you would be doing what Osha did. She just goes into the room. She doesn't really seem all that concerned that Master Torum is now dead. She just starts looking around, picking up the vials, sniffing it, which is pretty dumb in my opinion, because you don't know what could have been in that vial, what could have killed Master Torum. For all you know, it could have been some powder that he inhaled that caused a knockout or caused his death. Like, just the fact that she started messing with things is just like, really, it's not a great look for you. And sure enough, a few moments later, Master Sol's group arrives, being led by the Jedi of the temple, who immediately pull their blades on her. And I thought they were only supposed to show their blades to people that they meant to kill. But you know what? We'll just forget about that rule completely. Disney Star Wars has been inconsistent so far, so what's one more inconsistency? Now, Osha, she's like, hey, I didn't do this. I didn't kill him. He was like this when I got here. And they're like, you're going to explain a little bit more for us to believe you, because it's pretty suspicious that you're here. He's on the ground dead. We're going to need an explanation for exactly what happened. And thankfully, Varda, he has been following her, and he confirms that she wasn't the one who killed Master Torm. He was already like that when they got here. Now, besides just being like, hey, thank you for backing me up here, you don't hear from Master Soul like saying thank you to Varda for like, oh, thanks for keeping an eye on her, making sure that my trust in her is valid or anything like that. Now, I don't really mean to make a big deal out of it, but still, like, the man's wariness is the only one who's, keeping his eyes wide open on what Osha could be. Now, I'm not saying Osha has shown any dark tendencies, but, she did hack into their spaceship on the way to the planet just to get their diagnostics information. So, can you really necessarily trust her all that much? You don't even know her. You haven't seen her in 6 years, and you did imprison her. So, there might be some anonymity between the two of you. Now, with that said, they start looking at the body and the vial, and they're like, well, we don't really know what could be causing this. We don't know what was in this vial, so let's go to the apothecary. And when they head over to the apothecary, they find that their old apothecary has been replaced by somebody new that they'd never seen before. So presumably, this is where May got her poison from. And now, here's the thing. If I was an assassin in Star Wars and I can travel light years, I wouldn't get my killing potion on the planet that I committed my assassination on, okay? I would get it from some black market on like Tatooine or somewhere else in the Outer Rim, and then I would go kill somebody on said planet. I wouldn't go to said planet and then kill somebody, because you don't want to leave a trace of you being there. But May, I guess, isn't that smart of an assassin, or they just got very lucky that they're that incompetent. Regardless, they decide to go in and check things out. And Vardo, he gets shunned once more. Like, geez, what are you guys doing? Like, I thought he was maybe a little bit too young for a Jedi Knight, but you guys have no respect for this man. You shot him down completely on his concerns about Osha maybe being a dark sister, and now you're just completely disregarding his idea. Because his idea was, okay, let's check the perimeter, and then we'll go in and question him about May. And then the Padawan just goes ahead and pipes up like, why don't we just send Osha in? After all, if he knows her, he'll just start talking to her and we can find out the information that way. It'd be a lot easier than your idea. Now, she's not wrong, but the way the showrunners did this is that they just seem to purposely want to be undermining Varda for no good reason. Varda just seems to be getting the short end of the stick. He had the bad idea of putting her on a prisoner transport. He had the idea of maybe not trusting her because she could still be in the league with her sister. And he's had the idea of doing a patrol around the shop and then going in and questioning the individual, which all three of those are, well, the first one's a bad idea, but the other two aren't really a bad idea. So why are we, just downplaying Varda so much? That's just my opinion. Now, with that said, they do go ahead and send Osha in, and I think this is my favorite part of the episode, is because the actress plays Osha very well. She's like very uncomfortable. She doesn't speak the way that May does. She's trying to be inconspicuous. Like, even with my lion eyes, I could tell, like, okay, something's up with you. Yeah, you're, like, either plant or you're not being natural. So, if she would have spent some time thinking about, like, what would someone who assassinates Jedi be like, maybe she could play it up a little bit more. Maybe she could be a little more stern with him. But I like it that she's not, because it just goes to show that Osha has been out of this game for so long, that she's not trained like this, that she's just a normal civilian trying to go through and figure out if her sister's alive and if she's the one behind all these murders. And pretty much right away, the apothecary catches on and he lets it slip like, oh, we had to kill him without using the potion. He will be so pleased. And Osha is like, no, I just came by. I wanted to thank you for the help. And just at that moment is when all the Jedi break in and they demand what's going on. And this is where we learn that he's like just a middleman of the black market. He just gets things for people, information for people. That's all he does. And with that, he tells them that May will be coming down there tonight to grab some things. So the Jedi decide to set up a trap and keeping an eye on the apothecary. Now, as they're making their preparations for the confrontation with May, where Sola and Asha have a bit of a conversation about the operation ahead and how Asha wants to get justice on May for what she did to her and her family. Where Sola points out to her, it's not justice you're seeking, it's revenge. And just look at what's happened to May for seeking revenge. She's gone down a darker path. Don't follow her example. Seek justice, but don't seek vengeance against your sister. And at this point, Asha's like, Soul, she's going after everyone that was on the planet back then. She went after Rendera. She went to Torbjorn. She's going to go after the Giant Master Wookiee, Kuruk. And she's going to be coming for you as well. And at that, all Soul says in response is that, have faith in May and have faith in me. Now, I have a little bit of issue with this, not because of faith. I mean, I'm a person of faith as well, but I would prefer if he would have said something like, trust in the Force that May will see the light, and trust in the Force that it will see me through this as well. Or something along those lines. Something that would be feeling more Star Wars-y, not so much of this world, or someone writing the dialogue that doesn't even understand Star Wars or how people speak in Star Wars. That's just my opinion. Now, regardless, they go ahead and they execute their operation, and just like clockwork, Mace shows up, headed for the apothecary shop. Soul arrives, and they start having a fight back and forth. Now, Soul, he does some couple cool moves. He's able to force stop her on the ground and is able to probe her mind, finding out that she doesn't know anything about her master. So that's at least interesting that he's been able to cover his tracks very well, even with her, so that no one can find out about him, which brings some questions for him that I'm going to put those to the side, but we're going to talk about those later. For May is able to break out of his hold here and continue the fight, although she doesn't do very well. He's able to steal her blades from her, and it's a pretty one-sided fight, because unlike the fight with Rondora and her encounter with Torbjorn, Soul seems to be actually a Giant Master worth the name, and he just completely just dances around her. Now, at this point, Soul tells her that her sister is alive. She doesn't believe him, and at this point, Varda, who's been up above them, like directly up above them, looking down at binoculars right at them for no reason. Like, okay, I would understand if you're across the street or heck, maybe even a couple blocks over and you're looking over, but you're right above them. You're looking at them with binoculars. Like, why? Like, the people who were designing this scene have no idea what they're doing. They're just putting things in like, oh, that's Star Wars-y. We got to make him look like he's doing something here because, we have to have a reason for why he's not in the fight. But he's just looking down at them and he calls out to her like, nope, Master Torbjorn isn't lying. Your sister really is alive. And that he jumps down and she tries to escape, seeing that she's being quartered in, but it doesn't work for her. He just stops her from moving, and now she's stuck in the center. The ship comes right above with the Padawan driving it and just shouting onto that loudspeaker with an annoying voice, just like, stop in the name of the Republic, you're under arrest. And then she decides to do force wind that throws up a whole bunch of dirt and is able to escape that way, which she should not have been able to. Like, Master Soul should have been able to reach out, grab her with the Force, and same with Varda. Like, all of a sudden you can't sense a Force user just leaving. Like, what the heck is with that? Like, I'm sorry, that makes no sense that she was able to pull off. But hey, it's Disney Star Wars. We need her to escape for the plot. So she's now on the run, and she almost is able to escape when she runs into her sister Osha, who is holding a stun gun. And we're supposed to have this very impactful, very emotional scene where it just stops and slows down, and it goes from one sister to the other, to one sister to the other. Will she pull the trigger? Will she not? Will she? And then she goes ahead and pulls the trigger, but completely miss. Which, how do you miss with a stun gun? Like, I'm just going to be honest here. Like, a stun gun has a massive range. Like, if you go back to A New Hope and look at what those stormtroopers were firing, like, it literally shoots a circle and a ring so that it can hit you. So the fact that she wasn't able to hit it just pretty much goes to show, like, the plot armor is real in the show, people. We wanted the emotional, touching scene, but we didn't want her caught. So we're just going to have it so that Aosha is so bad that it just goes off in any direction. Now, there is a little difference, so maybe you can make the argument, but come on. Anyone can hit something from that distance between them. Like, there's, like, what, 20, 30 feet between you and her, and you're not shooting for, like, this cup here. You're shooting for a full-on person. So, I'm sorry. It just kind of irked me that she just completely missed. Now, with that, May just starts speeding away, and she's able to get away from them, and we turn to see Soul looking over at Osha with a disappointed look, and Osha just being indignant about the thing, not being castful, not, like, admitting, like, yeah, I kind of did something bad there. Like, I didn't reach out to my sister. I didn't try to have her stop. I didn't try to have a conversation with her. I just kind of just shot at her, and now she's gone. Now we lost a possible vector of getting in touch with her. Now they continue their search for May, but they continue to have trouble finding her. Now we cut to the next morning, and we see that the apothecary is able to sneak out of his apothecary shop away from the Jedi guards, who aren't doing a very good job keeping an eye on his building. Now, as he's sneaking out, May appears and she's about to kill him, but he's able to overpower her and prevent her blade going into him. And she wants to, and she even states that her intentions are to kill him later on. I understand that, but two things here. I can guess out of here. I found the Wookiee giant master Corrosion. He's on another planet. And with that, May is like, come on, let's go get him. And at that exact same moment, the Jedi who are watching the apothecary shop all of a sudden scream at the top of their lungs like, hey, he's gone, we lost track of him. Well, hurry, let's go report this. Like, that also wouldn't happen in Star Wars. You would notice that he's gone, and you quickly hurry, go into your comlink and let everybody know, like, hey, he's gone, he's on the move. So the only reason why he shouted is just for us, the audience, for dramatic effect, even though it was completely unnecessary. And now from here, we go to the planet's name. I'll put it down here. I keep forgetting them. These planets are so meaningless to me. Regardless, they go to the planet, and we follow two hunters through the forest who come across this old broken down ship in the forest with some strange writing around it, and they're about to start raiding it for parts when all of a sudden the Wookiee Giant Master shows up and force grabs their blasters, breaks them in half, and scares the hunters off. So now we know who the next target is. So, yay? It's just pretty lame in my opinion. Now, I want to talk about one thing real quick here. The apothecary guy. I heard this theory from some people, and I kind of agree with it, that he's probably her master. He's probably the smiling Sith Lord that is the one who's been training her. And if I could take it another step deeper, he's actually probably the real Acolyte. Because here's the thing, if you know anything about Star Wars and Sith Lords, and if you know anything about even Episode 1, you'll know that Darth Maul wasn't really an apprentice. He was an apprentice, but he was an assassin that Palpatine was using. So that's pretty much what we see here, that the individual that is helping May get revenge on these people is building up his own apprentice that possibly help him take on his master, but when he goes on and takes on the real Sith. But I don't think that he is actually a Sith Lord. I think he's the true acolyte of the show who's just using May in order to help him kill a couple of Jedi, build up her skills, and maybe use her to help him take on his Sith Lord. That, according to the rule of two, there's the master with the knowledge and an apprentice who must crave and become stronger, and thus overpower the master, become the stronger apprentice of the two. So I'm willing to bet that's what we got going on here. But you guys let me know what your thoughts are on what possibility he is down in the comment section below. With that said, I don't know. I don't have much hope for this episode. It was all pretty much a dud. I had to watch this episode like 3 times to remember any of it. I would watch it back on, Wednesday. I completely forgot. Watched it on Friday. Completely forgot again. And finally today I watched it for a 3rd time. I felt like I was drinking chlorine every single time. But I don't know, dudes. Disney Star Wars is just bad. But you let me know what your thoughts are. I look forward to hearing from you. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.